I was out for a walk the other day and I was looking at all the dog walkers walking past me, and I thought how everyone out had to have a dog. But what about all those people that didn't have a dog, like myself? I have to take myself for a walk. It's not just dogs that need the exercise, we do too. But it's not just for the physical side. I find it definitely useful for the mental side. And that's where I want to talk today about not just the joy of walking, but the joy of walking to work. And it makes me think about all the times that I'm at home, I'm staring at a screen, I'm at the computer, and then maybe I'll go to work and I'll be sat down all day. And sometimes I'll have the option, I can get a lift to work, and then some days I have to walk into work. And on those days where I walk in, I usually takes me about an hour and 10 minutes to walk down there. And I'll oftentimes have a lot of time to myself, walking through the park or through some woods. No one's around me. And when I'm there, I might often send a voice note to someone. And I find myself having all these thoughts and making new connections that I never would have made if I was just sat in a car, if I went from one screen to another. It gave me a bit of space to just be with myself, which I think in the modern society, we don't get much time to ourselves. We don't get much time to just sit and think, because the thinking is being blocked out by the noise of whatever you're watching, or the noise of the scrolling. What's next? What can I see next on my feed? And I think that's where actually choosing to walk to work those days are actually hugely healing for me. I find them really impactful on my well-being. And I think that perhaps it might be very helpful for you too. It might be different if you live in a city. I live in a small town. So when I'm walking to work, I'm walking through it's a really nice park that I have to walk through. And it gives me space and time, like I'm in nature. But if you was in a city, it might be a different story. It might be very noisy. And sometimes, just while we're on that, sometimes I find myself in the middle of town, and sometimes I might be a bit overwhelmed by the amount of people out there. It might make me feel a bit awkward. But then other times I find myself able to pull myself out of that and become what is known as the observer. Like, I'm just looking. You could call it people watching. You might have heard it that before. If you're able to just sit there and watch. Like, I'll describe a scene which I've done quite a few times. I'll go on a really long walk. It might be when I've got really fed up of working at home, working at the computer for hours, usually days on end, and I find myself thinking, what the hell am I doing with my life? I need to feel like I'm part of society. So I'll get up and go for a really long walk all the way to town, which takes me about 2 hours, walk all the way to the seafront, all the way to the edge of town, look at the sea, come back, and then this is the key part, I get something to eat in the centre of town. And I'm just sat there, and while I'm waiting for my food, I start looking at everyone, all the different types of people walking past, just looking at them, just being like, that guy's got a beard, that person's small, that person's overweight, that person's got long hair. Like, I'm not making any judgments, I'm just observing, making notes on who's around me. These are the people that exist. And that's when I'm becoming the observer. And then I get my food and I sit there and I just look. And it's not even like, I'm not even really thinking about anything, I'm just looking. It's like I just notice people. And you notice how kind of different we all are, but also how similar we all are. And I find those things really valuable. And just going for walks, walking to work, could really help you enter that observer mode. But let me ask you this, how many times do you lie on your pillow, well, you lie on your bed, not your pillow, rest your head down on the pillow, and then your mind is alight with thoughts, and you can't stop thinking, and then you find hours go past, and suddenly it's the morning and you haven't slept because you've been so deep in thought. Well, I think that's oftentimes the case when you haven't had that time to almost just become the observer of your own mind. What thoughts are you thinking? And have space to be with those thoughts. So instead, your brain sort of forces it upon you when it's time to go to sleep. Now you're going to be thinking these things that you've been hiding from all day. And that's why today, as you hear me now, I've decided to walk to work instead of getting that lift. Because otherwise I would have spent extra time at home staring at a screen, doing whatever it was. And maybe that's not really the most valuable thing I could be doing for myself. So if your route to work isn't the nicest place to be, Maybe consider just taking yourself on a walk somewhere quiet, somewhere where the woods are, somewhere where there's some nature, and just be with yourself for a bit and just let yourself think. Don't try to stop it. So what do you think? Do you go on these sort of walks? Do you think there'd be something that is useful to you? Some time on your own? Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. And if you've got something that you'd like me to talk about, then pop that down below and maybe I'll talk about it in the next video. Thanks for listening.